Derby County are the early kick-off on Saturday morning as they face up against Norwich City at Pride Park Stadium yet again. It's going to be very interesting to see how this one goes. Obviously, Norwich City are in a really, really good position to take this division by storm and maybe find themselves in those promotion playoff places. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see what does happen with Norwich City as well as Derby County heading into this game. Obviously, Derby County have a few injury doubts and they're things which are going to change the way Derby County play and the way they perform heading into this game. Now, coming into this fixture, Derby County have won all 3 home games and it's very interesting, well, 4 home games if you count Chesterfield, and it's very interesting to see that they've failed to win away from home as of yet in all competitions. Now, heading into this one, Derby County will be hoping that they can get the better of Norwich City and find themselves on 12 points coming out of this weekend. But will that be possible? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. We're going to preview the game now, so let me know your thoughts down there. Let me know your score and team predictions, and we'll get into all that later on in this video. So Derby County host Norwich City this weekend. It's going to be a very, very interesting one. There is some injury doubts heading into this one with the likes of Jake Rooney obviously still out injured. David Ozo is still out injured as well. You've also got new injuries in the likes of Callum Elder, which is a potential problem for Derby County in that left back position. I'm led to believe that Kane Wilson is back in training. We've seen some pictures of him on social media, so it is a possibility that he could be involved. Now, we also are missing Tom Barkhazen, but I believe Paul Warren said it could be 7 to 10 days between just before the Sheffield United game, so there is a possibility he may be available for this one. Now, obviously Norwich City are doing okay this season. They're not in a terrible position at all. They're sitting just behind Derby County. Now, they've gone 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses, and it's one of those for me where I think Norwich City will certainly be in those playoff places or in and around it come the end of the season. They've not particularly had the greatest start, but they have faced some difficult sides in doing so. Now, if we do look into the last 5 fixtures, you can see the difficult games that they have faced. Obviously, they've faced Watford, which they won 4-1. Sheffield United, which was a 1-1 draw. They beat Coventry 1-0 and lost to Swansea City. Now, if you look at Derby County's recent form, a 1-0 defeat to Sheffield United, back-to-back wins, 1-0 versus Cardiff City and 3-0 versus Bristol City. There's obviously the penalty loss in the cup competitions and the 2-1 defeat to Watford. Now, I think it's very important when we look into this match that we do take a look at the head-to-head of the two sides. Now, obviously, they've not faced each other since 2021, where it was 3 points apiece that season, with Derby County winning 1-0 away and Norwich City also winning 1-0 away. But it's not been an incredible game for either team, really, when both sides have 4 wins on the board and then there's 4 draws as well. And I think this one could be a fairly interesting one as we head into the last game in September. And I think when you talk about Norwich City, you talk about Derby County, you have to talk about the shifts they've been on over the course of the last few seasons. Obviously, Derby County going through that administration period, Norwich City being a bit of a yo-yo club, and obviously they changed manager during the off-season, and it's not quite got off to the start that they was probably expecting or hoping for, but they'll certainly find their feet in this division. They've got some really, really good players at Norwich City. If we just go and take a look at them, if we just look at the squad available for Norwich City, you've got the likes of Grant Hanley, Shane Duffy, some really good players, Callum Doyle, another really good player. You look into the midfield as well. You've got Nunes, you've got Gibbs, McLean, Ashley Barnes. Now, I believe Ashley Barnes is injured, but you also look at former Derby County youngster Cade Gordon is on loan at Norwich City. It's going to be very interesting to see what does happen with this loan spell for me, because you obviously look at when he moved to Liverpool, he had immense promise, and then he suffered a ton of injuries, which obviously cost him the opportunity at Liverpool, because as you can see, he made 7 appearances for the senior side, scoring in a cup game, I believe, against Shrewsbury, but ultimately injuries have curtailed his development a little bit at Liverpool. You look at Tony Springett as well, former Derby County loanee, Josh Sargent, Arnel Hernandez. There's some really, really good players in this Norwich City side. It's going to be really difficult to break them down. Obviously, last season, I think they finished in the playoffs, if I remember rightly, and it's one of those for me where it's going to be It's going to be difficult for Derby County, but I think it's one of those where we certainly are able to potentially pick up all 3 points. And I think with us being at home, I think it certainly opens that door. Now, in a moment, we're going to go through my team predictions, and I do think there might be a change in the defence, obviously with the potential injury to Callum Elder, which we have not yet heard from Paul Warne about yet. And I do think it's going to be interesting to see what does happen because of that. So obviously, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. We'll have the Championship review video out later on today. But should we get in to the team prediction? Now, obviously, you're looking at the doubts section. You've got the likes of Tom Barkhazen, Liam Thompson, Callum Elder, and Tawande Chiwa. Now, I'm unsure if Chiwa is going to be available. Obviously, another player who was out, coming out of the international break. He had a concussion, I believe, which obviously keeps him out for up to 2 games now. Whether he'll be available or not, we're still yet to hear from Paul Warne as I've recording this video, and probably when you're seeing this video, we haven't yet heard from Paul Warne. But this is the team that I believe will start if Callum Elder is injured. Obviously, if Elder isn't injured, I think he'll start at left back. So it's pretty much the same team that played against Sheffield United, just with Craig Forsyth coming in at that left back position. I do also believe that there is a potential possibility for Derby to go to a 3, bringing Phillips in for Elder and then putting Osborne at left wing back. And I'm not entirely against that. I think what we've got to do when we're looking at Derby County this season is put our best players in the best positions. And I personally, don't get me wrong, I think Ben Osborne's been okay when he's played. I just think I'm not entirely sure how I feel about him in midfield. I don't quite think he's that sort of technical player that you really want. Yes, he works hard, will battle hard and things like that, and obviously that's massively important in the midfield, but I do think you also need a bit of the extra element as well. And I think having Osborne in there gives you, even if you do go with Forsyth, it then gives you the opportunity to move between a 3 and a 4 as the game goes on, if that's what we need to do. Now, because obviously Forsyth can play at centre-half, Cashin can move over and play through the middle. You can obviously have Kenzo and Adams as that midfield too. And I do believe that having those options available to Derby County is absolutely massive. Now, if we go back to the game at the weekend, obviously Blackett Taylor got his first minutes of the season, I believe. Obviously, he played a couple of games in pre-season. And it's one of those for me where I do think there is potential openings for Derby County throughout the course of this next couple of weeks heading into the international break. We've obviously got Norwich City up next. We've then got Sunderland midweek, which is going to be a really, really difficult game. And I think Derby County fans need to appreciate that this is going to be a little bit of a rough period. This portion of 3 games with Sheffield United, Norwich, and obviously Sunderland. Now, I'm not entirely sure who we have after Sunderland, but it's going to be difficult whatever happens for Derby County. I think there's a massive opportunity for us to put a statement in, especially against Norwich City or going away to the Stadium of Light. I think there's a real possibility that Derby County can pick something up in one of these games, but we've got to find a way to create chances away from home, and that's something we haven't done. I spoke about Derby County's away form in a video a few days ago, so if you haven't checked that out, I'll link it in this video. But I do think there's a possibility of Derby County picking up some points over the next few weeks, and hopefully we'll be able to do a bit of a Derby digest after the upcoming games. We'll hopefully get some live streams going, but it's one of those for me where you look at this team on the pitch, and for me, the weak link in this team is Ben Osborne. I think, obviously, when you've had a player of the quality of David Ozo, I think it's really hard to replace that. And I do think there's a possibility that there could be a change in the midfield with Osborne being replaced by Marcus Harness, and we go to a 4-2-3-1. Now, you can obviously let me know your thoughts about that in the comments section. I know a lot of people don't like my opinions on Marcus Harness, but it's one of those for me where I do think he can add something to that midfield. I do think he has a creative nature. We've just got to get him on the pitch. And obviously we haven't done that yet. You look at the likes of Wilson, Ward, Harness, Blackett, Taylor, all players who you think could have an impact when they're fit and available for this Derby County side. And heading into this game versus Norwich is no different. And I think I think it's going to be very similar to the game versus Middlesbrough, if I'm really honest. I think Norwich City are going to sort of try and dominate the ball. I think we're going to end up in a position where we're sitting back defending deep for a long time and we have to hit on the counter. So do I necessarily believe that having Harness in from the start is the smartest play? Maybe not. But I do think that it would be a brilliant player to bring in maybe at 45 minutes, or obviously depending on how the scores go in and things like that, because obviously that changes as we play through the game. So obviously you can let me know your thoughts down in the comments, but this is the team that I'm predicting for this weekend. I think it will stay the same. Obviously if Callum Elder's out, then Forsyth comes in. If it doesn't, then I think Callum Elder will play, and I don't really think much will change to the bench. Obviously we'll have to add a player in if Elder's injured. I think that'll be Kane Wilson returning from injury. So obviously let me know your thoughts down below and we'll finish off this video. Now, obviously, it's a massive talking point heading into this game. Derby County have some unbelievable home form with 3 wins from 3 in the Championship, 4 wins from 4, including Chesterfield. It's going to be very interesting to see if they can make it 5 from 5. Let me know your thoughts and score predictions down in the comments. I personally think we're probably going to come away with a draw, but I think we might be able to snag a 1-0 win. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll try and reply to every single one of you. But before we do leave this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, go and follow me across all my socials, and I'll catch you in my next video. Find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.